Our series begins at the College of Engineering, where we witness a disaster happening, and all the students are terrified. Then, let's go back in a flashback to understand the story from the beginning. First, we see Lynn, the heroine of our story, on her way to university with her two closest friends, Nari and Layla. As soon as they arrive, they find the students holding a protest, opposing the university's plan to merge the engineering department with the fashion department. What catches their attention is how different the fashion students are from them. Stylish clothes, elegance, and confidence, completely unlike themselves, whose main focus is studying and working hard. After a few moments, our hero, Hack, arrives to apply to the university. The students immediately forget about the protest as soon as they see him, because he is a famous fashion model. On top of that, high school girls leave their schools and go to the university just to see the famous star, the dream boy of all girls. In short, everything turns upside down. Then we see Lynn lost in thought, or rather, extremely happy, because she finally managed to fix her laptop and make it much more powerful than before. She starts explaining to Layla how she saved money to repair it. Since she has a brilliant mind and spends all her time online, she found an advertisement from a famous director who was looking for a writer to create crime stories. She immediately seized the opportunity, met him, the producer, and the rest of the team, understood the idea perfectly, wrote the story, and received a good amount of money. With it, she upgraded her device's speed. Honestly, her mind works like a computer. Not only that, but the most important thing in her life is her education, and she ranks first in her college every year. While everyone else was focused on the protest and the problem of merging the two departments, she was focused on the scholarship that would completely change her life and allow her to study in America. She quickly went down to the student affairs office. At the same time, Hack was also looking for the dean's office and didn't know where to go, until he ran into her. When he asked her, she replied quickly and explained the directions briefly. But of course, he didn't understand anything, and she couldn't see well either, because her glasses were fogged up from the cold weather. In the end, she got annoyed and summarized everything for him. All of this happened while neither of them could see clearly. When she reached the office, the employee told her that they had called her yesterday to register her for the scholarship, but unfortunately, she hadn't answered, because the young lady had been exhausting herself studying programming, as usual. So now she had to renew her application papers and get them signed by the dean all over again. At that time, the dean was sitting with Hack and his manager, San. From San's words, we realize how materialistic he is, and that money is the most important thing in his life. We return to Lynn, who is sitting with Layla during the break. Then Nari comes, happy and shocked at the same time, because she heard that one of the fashion students has 1 million followers on social media. The heroine responds by saying that social media is something trivial, and anyone who wastes their time on it must be trivial too. She quickly calculates that the person would need to post 20 times per hour to reach 1 million followers. Her friends are amazed by her extraordinary intelligence. While they are talking, Hack enters, and everything turns upside down. All the girls gather around him, wanting to take pictures with him, except Lynn. She is the only one who stays in her seat, watching them. As soon as she sees him, she tells her friends that he is the student with 1 million followers. She also looks at the girls with disdain, thinking he is just an ordinary person, not handsome or special, and that they are the ones exaggerating. In another place, we see a fashion student watching the live streams that the girls are broadcasting while filming Hack. Suddenly, she finds Professor Yoon standing over her, asking, "What are you doing, sweetheart? And who is that?" At first, the girl is startled. Then she starts explaining to everyone how Hack began his career. He first appeared on a famous dating show and managed to steal attention with his overwhelming beauty and kind personality. He was also quiet while everyone else was talking, and after everyone went to sleep, he would clean the place. In short, he was different from everyone else, and that is why he became famous quickly, even though he is still in his 20s. At the same moment, her classmates were watching the show. In one episode, there was a competition between the contestants, and Lynn immediately knew that Hack was going to win. When they asked her how she knew, she calculated it for them. His direction was at a 90-degree angle compared to the other contestants, which meant he had more space. In the end, he really was the one who won. but she suddenly snapped out of the discussion and told them that she had to go to the dean now so he could sign her scholarship papers. Unfortunately, her pen fell. When she bent down to pick it up, an old man appeared, and his cane got caught in her bag and dragged her along the floor. She started screaming until Hack noticed her and quickly rescued her. After that, he signed her scholarship papers because, bless him, he thought she was trying to push through the crowd to get his autograph. When he saw her name, he realized she was the girl who wrote him romantic comments on every post every day. So she looked at him like, "Are you stupid? Or who do you think you are?" Even so, neither of them realized that they had met earlier. Then she ran downstairs, trying to catch the dean, but the secretary told her that he had left just 3 minutes ago. When the secretary saw Hack's signature on the paper, she told her that if she had cared more about the scholarship than getting the famous star's autograph, she would have caught the dean. Lynn didn't understand at first. When she looked at the paper and saw the signature, she went crazy. She wished she could see him just to kill him, because he had really delayed her with his stupidity. We then go into a flashback and discover that they had met 2 years earlier during volunteer work as security guards at a hotel event where he was being honored. She had seen him arguing with a rude man who wanted to park in someone else's spot by force. She decided to help him and pretended to film the man. When he saw her, he got scared of being exposed and ran away. After that, Hack thanked her, but they didn't really see each other's faces because they were wearing masks. He asked her about the academy logo on her phone, and she told him that she planned to study engineering at the university starting next year, God willing. Then we return to Lynn, who is asleep and leaning against her phone, which is playing one of Hack's videos. In the video, he tells his fans how happy he is to be studying at the Korean Institute of Engineering. He also talks about the girl he met 2 years ago and how ambitious she was. He was almost reciting poetry about her, but unfortunately, she didn't hear any of it because she was asleep. The next day, we see Hack on his way to the institute, scrolling through her profile. At that moment, he finds the page of the girl he thought was her, but when he opens it, he discovers, to his shock, that it belongs to a completely different person. He snaps out of it when San tells him that he is paying $1,500 per month for their car rental. Hack is shocked and asks why they are wasting so much money. He says he is perfectly fine taking the metro, since he is still at the beginning of his life and needs to save every penny. But his manager loves showing off and wants everyone to see him as a shining star, because that will make producers chase after him, give him more work, and earn more money. A few seconds later, Hack receives a message from his roommate, telling him that she is raising the rent this month. He is surprised and asks San how the apartment can be rented monthly when San had told him it was semi-annual. Of course, Mr. San, as usual, twists the truth and lies to him, convincing him that the woman must mean the studio rent, not the apartment. The next day, we see the girls entering the university. Layla stops a student and asks him what he is doing there after he already graduated. He tells her that he came especially to attend Professor Mito's course because Mito is world famous and has worked at the biggest companies. But the girls are worried that the university administration might want to use Mito as an excuse and take advantage of the situation to carry out the department merger. Luckily, when they enter the lecture hall, Professor Yoon informs them that Mito is not coming because a report has been filed against him, accusing him of harassing Asian students in particular. The new professor who will replace him starting next week will be announced in tomorrow's lecture. After they leave the lecture, they see a poster about a competition for outstanding students, but Layla tells them that it must be a trick to fool them. However, Nari notices that the prize is $20,000 and that only 3 people will win it. When Lynn focuses for a moment, she calculates the value of the prize and realizes that the 3 winners will actually lose a lot after the tax deduction. But if they become 4 and file an appeal to get the deduction refunded, then each person's share will be very good. At that point, Layla agrees to join them in the competition after having completely rejected the idea before, but on the condition that each of them donates a small amount to the student aid fund so they can help stop the department merger. We then return to Hack as he prepares to film his new commercial at the university, which will be about the world's latest laptop. We notice that he prepares juice himself for his girlfriend, Jenny, who will be the main actress in the advertisement. She is an artist, but not very famous. Then we go back to the girls, who are still sitting and drawing and planning how to succeed in the competition. At the same time, one of the filming crew members comes to charge the laptop that will be used in the commercial. A few seconds later, Lynn also notices that her own device needs charging, so she removes the other laptop and puts hers in its place, then leaves and goes back to explaining the plan to her friends. Professor Yoon was standing at a distance, listening carefully, and she realized that Lynn is extremely intelligent. Her mind even surpasses Einstein himself. When filming begins, the assistant returns and accidentally takes Lynn's laptop, the one she had been using while explaining to the girls. When Lynn remembers her laptop and goes to get it, she is shocked to find a different one in its place. She immediately realizes that they took her device by mistake to use in the commercial. She and the three girls rush to stop the disaster before it happens, because the laptop used in the ad opens sideways, which would break her device. The poor girl starts screaming loudly, begging them to stop and shouting that it is her laptop. Unfortunately, the other fans think she is shouting words of love to Hack, so they start repeating her words. The filming team tells them to be quiet, and one of them turns down Lynn's microphone so no one can repeat after her. Hack tries once, twice, and fails to open the laptop. On the third attempt, it sadly breaks into two pieces. Not only that, but when he tries to catch the assistant before she falls, the device slips from his hands into water. Then juice spills on it. Trying to be clever, he attempts to save the situation by drying it with a hairdryer. In the end, the result is that the laptop turns into a burnt, melted mess. Throughout all this, Lynn is unable to say a single word from shock. Later, we see Hack going to spend a nice evening with Jenny at a hotel. At the same time, Lynn happens to see a picture of Hack on the street, which makes her angry. We go into a flashback where she is yelling at the director, demanding that he pay for her broken device. The unfair director puts all the blame on the assistant, saying that since she made the mistake, she should pay for it. But Layla hates injustice. She speaks to the director and tells him that he is heartless for making the poor girl bear all the responsibility alone. She asks where the producer is. At that time, while the argument is burning outside, the producer is inside flirting with Jenny and confessing his love to her. He expects that she loves him too, but she shocks him by telling him that he is just a phase in her life and that it will end. She says she is not thinking about love or marriage now, and that her main goal is to become a global star in Hollywood. She also explains that one day he will meet someone better than her and fall in love. He is shocked, but tries to hide it as much as he can. After their conversation ends, he goes out sadly and tells the girls that he is responsible for what happened and that he will pay the money. He apologizes to the assistant and asks her not to cry, promising to fix everything. He asks Lynn for her number so he can transfer the money to her. Suddenly, San appears like a monkey, interrupts them, gives the assistant his own number instead, and promises to contact her that day and send her the money. She believes him, but in reality, he is just trying to escape the situation. After they leave, Hack wonders if Lynn only did that to get his number, but he tells himself that she doesn't seem like the other flashy, show-off girls. A little later, as he is leaving, he sees her walking angrily. He runs after her, starts apologizing, and asks her if they have met before, because she didn't look unfamiliar to him, but she literally wanted to kill him, because every time she saw his face, he caused her another disaster. Without thinking, she told him that she had never seen him before, and that she wasn't even one of his fans and didn't like him at all. The boy was hurt, but he stayed calm. He took her phone and took a selfie with her. As for her, she stared at him angrily and thought to herself, "I wish I could open his head and see what's inside. There's no way someone this stupid can be this handsome." When night came, we see her taking the laptop to a repair center. The technician asks her for a very large amount of money, and if she wants it urgently, she has to pay extra. She clenches her fists in frustration. If Hack were in front of her, she would literally kill him. What makes things worse is that San doesn't answer her calls and completely blocks her. She gets furious and goes on Instagram to message him, only to be shocked when she sees that Hack's manager has posted that the assistant broke the laptop during filming and that the famous star, bless him, heroically took responsibility for what happened. In other words, he caused a disaster, and now they are presenting him as a hero. She goes even crazier because of this lie. Then we go back to Hack when he goes to Jenny's hotel. We discover that she was the one who called him, but at that moment she receives a call from the director, so she ignores Hack, treating him like a backup option. The poor guy leaves her room emotionally broken. By coincidence, he bumps into Lynn. As soon as she sees him, she runs after him and stops him. He thinks she is Jenny and can't push her away, so he suddenly hugs her. What a disaster! She quickly realizes what is happening and tries to push him away. He immediately apologizes, lets go, and leaves. She runs after him, but he refuses to listen because he wants to leave before Jenny comes out. Lynn loses control and explodes at him like a stove with 20 flames. In the end, she explains the whole story. He apologizes and tells her that his manager had told him he already paid her and took her number. Suddenly, Jenny appears in front of them, acting as if she doesn't even see Hack. He can't look her in the eyes after what she did to him, so he leaves. Lynn follows him. Suddenly, a man on a scooter almost hits her, but the hero saves her at the last moment. In the end, he gives her his phone number and promises to pay for repairing her laptop. The next day, Professor Yoon announces that she will hold a competition, and each team must consist of 4 members. When they ask her why 4 specifically, she explains that it makes it easier for her to evaluate the results. The winning team will receive a trophy from the dean himself. After the lecture, she tells them that they must have a meeting and decide which student will join them as their 4th member. At that moment, Lynn feels stomach pain and goes to the bathroom. When she comes out, she is surprised to find Hack waiting for her with the girls. In truth, he is very kind and brings her a brand new laptop. At first, she pretends she doesn't want it, but inside, she is dying to have it because it is newer and much more expensive than her old one. In the end, the girls convince her to accept the gift, and she does. Then, Hack asks to join their team and become their 4th partner. Lynn looks into his eyes and completely freezes. As for him, he realizes from her way of speaking that she is the genius girl he used to love watching in competitions in the past. We then go into a flashback from 2 days earlier, where Jenny's manager connects them in a video call and tells them that they were photographed in front of the hotel. If the photo is posted on social media, it will become a scandal. Not only that, but Jenny will lose her new movie. They keep looking for a solution until Jenny finally asks to speak with Hack alone. She tries to convince him that the best solution is to publicly admit that he was meeting Lynn and that she just happened to pass by and appeared in the picture. That way, it wouldn't affect him or Lynn, since they are not famous. But she would lose a lot because she is well known in the industry. At first, Hack is not very convinced, so she pretends to be loving and affectionate with him. In the end, she manages to trick him and convince him. The next morning, he goes to meet the girls. They start discussing whether he is suitable to join their team, especially since he studies design, not programming like them. Nari responds to Lynn, saying that the professor never said the whole team had to be from the same major. While they are talking, another problem happens, and all the girls start filming them and Hack, and this situation bothers Lynn even more, because she is a genius whose entire focus is on her studies and her future, nothing else. Hack feels that her words are true, so he goes out and asks the girls to stop filming them. When they insist, he asks them at least to blur his and his friends' faces and respect their privacy a little. When he comes back, he finds her asking him a strange question. What is your goal in this competition? He tries to tell them about his grandfather's will, but he cannot explain it properly. Meanwhile, Lynn is strict with him all the time and keeps trying to make him understand that his presence with them is not welcome. In reality, she had started to like him and wanted to push him away so she wouldn't grow weaker in front of him. After they finish the meeting, Hack goes out to his manager, San, who keeps talking to him about their new advertisement. But Hack isn't paying attention at all. All he can think about is how to make the team need him and ask him to stay. On a new day, we see Nari in class. They are supposed to be learning how to walk on the red carpet. Poor girl. Everyone laughs at her because she is overweight, but she has a kind and gentle heart. The rude professor mocks her in front of everyone and hurts her feelings. After the lecture ends, a young man named Bai appears. From the way he speaks, we understand that he feels sorry for her. To cheer her up, he tries to pull her out of her bad mood. They start imitating the professor and making fun of him together. At the end of the day, Hack meets the girls and tries to convince them of his new idea. Each of them should rent out a room in her apartment and advertise it on Instagram to increase her income. But Lynn sees it as a silly idea and tries to explain her point of view to him on the phone. He gets close to her without meaning to, In reality, she gets confused and her feelings are stirred, but she keeps pretending to be strong and acts as if she doesn't even see him. In the end, Sweet Nari tries to save the situation before Lin kicks him out of the team. When Hack feels that they want to talk alone, he leaves to get some air. Without meaning to, he overhears them arguing. Nari insists on keeping him and wants him to stay with them, while Lin sees him as a failure and believes he doesn't belong in their genius team. He decides to intervene before they hurt each other more. He tells them that he understands their point of view and that he wouldn't be happy if they fought because of him. In the end, he withdraws from the team. At that moment, while he is talking, Lin is lost in his innocent eyes, full of kindness and warmth. After he leaves, she runs after him and tries to talk to him, but she can't put two words together. Every time she looks at him, she gets dizzy from his beauty. A few minutes later, he receives a call telling him that he must post an Instagram advertisement immediately. He apologizes to her, steps aside, and films the ad in just 2 minutes. But when he returns to her, she has disappeared. At the end of the day, he meets San, who is waiting for him in the car. San asks him whether he will blame Lin, as Jenny asked him to, or not. Hack replies no, she is not at fault, and he will try to find another solution. At that moment, we go into a flashback to about 10 years earlier. His grandfather was sick in the hospital and told him that their family was genetically stupid. He wished Hack could marry a smart girl, like the one he used to watch in genius competitions back then. If he married her, he would fix the family genes. Otherwise, they would all go extinct. So we discover that Lin was his first love. The next day, the two departments hold a meeting to form a joint emergency committee. Honestly, Rowan, the head of the fashion department, is selfish and wants her department to control the committee. Layla tries to argue with them because she is truly intelligent, but Rowan tells her that the university administration will probably decide the matter anyway. After a long and useless discussion, they decide to hold joint elections between the two departments. Whoever wins will become the emergency committee responsible for the competition. Elsewhere, we see Hack training angrily at the gym because his self-confidence has been shaken. He now sees himself as a useless person after feeling that Lin doesn't want him on the team. At the same time, his coach, Gio, talks to him and tries to convince him not to think about people who don't notice him. He tells him to look around and focus on the girls who care about him and whose life dream is just to talk to him once. After a while, Hack changes his clothes. As soon as he comes out of the bathroom, he sends Jenny a message on Instagram saying, "How are you?" Then he quickly deletes it and tells himself that she probably won't reply anyway. Suddenly, he finds his 3 closest friends throwing him a surprise for his birthday. One of them is a rap singer, the second is his coach, and the third is a football player. They ask him to go to the mall with them, do some shopping, and relax a little. But it is clear that her words affected him. He explains to them that these things are trivial and that they should use their time to learn new skills instead. What is beautiful, though, is that he keeps seeing her image in front of his eyes. It never leaves his mind. In the end, his friends listen to him, and they go to the university to play a tennis match instead. We then return to the emergency committee elections. They are supposed to draw lots, and the team that wins will win the election. They keep drawing until it is Layla's turn, and unfortunately, she loses. They start distributing tasks among themselves. After the elections are over, Lin and her team gather and try to look for a fourth partner to join them. They try to choose a hardworking and intelligent student, but unfortunately, every time they try to convince someone, they find that he is either already late or has joined another team. Then Professor Yoon enters and tells them that there is very little time left before the competition registration deadline. She also explains that the prize has been increased from $20,000 to $30,000. That means each of the 4 winners will get a very good share. After they leave, Lin and her friends stand together, wondering what they will do about this problem, especially since they cannot find anyone. If things continue like this, they won't even be able to enter the competition. Nari tries to point out that Hack was an irreplaceable opportunity for them, especially since he is famous and has many followers. Their chances of winning would have been guaranteed. But Lin argues stubbornly and explains, using a mathematical theory, why he is not actually an advantage. She calculates that if you divide his 1 million followers by the total population of Korea, only about 2 out of every 100 people follow him, so his popularity wouldn't really help them. Layla responds, saying that what she is saying makes no sense. She wants to prove her wrong, so she suggests asking random students who the most talked about person is right now. When they ask several students in a row, they all answer, Hack. At that point, the genius finally becomes convinced. She decides to put aside her pride and catch the opportunity before it is lost forever. She tries to convince Hack to join their team, especially after seeing how excellent he was in the tennis match, how he refused to lose, and did everything possible to win. She starts talking to him quickly. He asks her why she changed her mind and says her explanation doesn't make sense. He concludes that she only needs him because of his good looks and fame. In the end, he rejects the offer and leaves. Later, we see Layla in her first meeting with the emergency committee. The dean enters and tells them that the winning team will not only receive the $30,000 prize, but will also travel to train at one of the biggest technology companies in America. However, he adds a new condition. Each team must include at least one contestant from the fashion department. Lynn and her friends feel like slapping themselves because the opportunity had been in their hands, and they were the ones who wasted it. So she decides not to lose this chance. She puts aside her pride and does everything she can to convince Hack. She quickly goes to look for him. She notices how hard-working he is during his fashion lecture. Immediately, she starts thinking of a way to bring him back to their team. At the end of the day, the fashion department holds a party, since they are considered the cool department in the university. Some engineering students secretly sneak in to enjoy themselves, because such things are forbidden in their department. Lynn is still looking for Hack at the party. She messages her friends and asks them to come to her. Finally, she finds him and tries to talk to him, but he doesn't want to listen. His pride is still hurt because of what she did to him. Then Jin sees her trying to brainwash him and gets upset. He tells her that Hack is now on his team. The two start arguing in front of everyone, while Hack stands there watching, not knowing what to do. In the end, Lynn starts shouting loudly because he can't hear her over the music. Suddenly, the music stops, and she says to him, I need you with me. Everyone misunderstands her, and people start filming her. At the same time, Hack finally agrees and explains to everyone that she meant she needed him to be with her on the team, not anything else. At the beginning of a new day, we see Yoon's father at their hotel. He becomes very happy when he sees two young men come in to book a room, because, sadly, no one has even greeted them for a long time. But the boys get scared of him, because his way of speaking is strange, so they quickly run away. Then we return to the team, gathered together, planning and studying hard for the competition. During this time, they ask Hack, why did you leave the other team? He replies that one of the girls confessed her love to him, and he was afraid it would cause problems between them. Also, they treated him like a famous actor, while this team treated him like a real friend and dealt with him sincerely. He adds that it's impossible for any of the girls on this team to fall in love with him. Without realizing it, Lynn speaks loudly and says that she could like him and that it would be normal. Suddenly, she is shocked by her own words, and the others stare at her in surprise, as if to say, What are you saying, you crazy girl? So she tries to cover it up and starts talking nonsense about a mathematical calculation and a 3% chance with stuffed cabbage and molokia, dragging them into a completely different topic. Later, we see Hack on his way home in the car, feeling very happy because of Lynn's words. He keeps thinking about her and their friends. He can't believe that he finally has friends who love him, and whom he loves in return, and who don't treat him like some star who came down from outer space. The next day, the fashion department decides to design a unified uniform for both departments. Honestly, Layla doesn't like the style, but they treat it as if the decision is theirs alone. They don't care about her opinion and just do whatever they want. Elsewhere, we see Lynn after she returns to her apartment. She is surprised to find her father visiting her from his trip. He plans to stay with her for a few days until he meets a friend, then leave again. But her father surprises her by taking out a photo of Hack from his bag. He explains that Hack had previously done an advertisement for their hotel. He tells her that this boy studies at her university and asks her to get his signature on the advertisement because he loves him so much, especially his innocent smile, which makes him smile automatically and feel optimistic whenever he sees it. The next morning, we see Hack on his way to university. When Lynn sees his car, she waves at him. Then suddenly, she asks herself, why did I just do that? She turns her head to leave, but suddenly he gets out of the car and rushes to greet her. He asks her how she recognized his car. She is surprised that he noticed her so quickly. She jokes with him and tells him that she saw him driving it before. Then she shows him the advertisement and explains that her father wants him to sign it. He asks her to turn her face away, and after signing, San gets out and starts speaking harshly to the girl. He scolds her for making Hack get out of the car just to sign something, saying that his time doesn't belong to him and that what she did was rude and disrespectful. But she manages to reply confidently and tells him that he is an impolite person. Then she leaves. At the end of the day, while returning from university, she sees her father leaving the hotel with a beautiful woman. She realizes that he is cheating on her mother with her. She is shocked and spends the whole night staring at him, asking herself how her respectable father, after all these years, could turn out to be a cheater like other men. When a new day begins, we see the four of them gathered together, discussing dating apps. Lin asks Nari how two people who have never seen each other can get into a relationship so easily. Nari explains that they don't fall in love instantly. First, they get to know each other. Each person asks the other what they like and dislike. If they feel compatible, then they continue. If not, they stop. It's simple. Hack then tries to change the subject so they won't argue. He tells them that he has been offered a new advertisement for a golf course and how excited he is, because he thinks golf courses protect nature. But Lin explodes and releases all her negative energy at him. She tells him he's stupid and that he should research any advertisement before accepting it. If he did, he would discover that building golf courses destroys the environment instead of protecting it. Then she leaves. Poor Hack is almost in tears because of her harsh way of speaking. After he gets home, the first thing he does is log in. He searches the internet and discovers the disaster. In order to build a golf course, they have to destroy all the surrounding nature, whether it is beehives, rabbit farms, animals, and so on. Because Hack is innocent and kind-hearted, he starts crying out of sadness and regret over his own ignorance. He apologizes to the bees and rabbits in his heart, feeling that humans are destroying their lives. Overwhelmed by sadness, he drifts back into the past and remembers how his father's wife, whom he loved very much like a mother, got divorced and left the house after discovering that her husband was cheating on her. That day, his grandfather, as usual, gave him advice. He told him that he must become a responsible person and not careless and reckless like his father. After recovering from his sadness, Hack tries to gather his strength and start a cosmetics advertisement live on Instagram, but he cannot continue because of his emotional state. He quits the live stream, changes his clothes, and goes out to get some fresh air, hoping his mood will improve a little. He wishes he hadn't done that. At that moment, he sees a group of drunk boys holding a picture of Ginny. He turns his face away and wants to leave. He keeps trying to convince himself that it is just a picture, but he cannot endure it. So he snatches the picture from them and runs away. They chase him, and he keeps running until, by coincidence, he bumps into Lin. She decides to help him and takes him with her, running away because she knows the area better than he does. But then he grabs her hand and starts running with her instead. Her heart starts pounding rapidly, and she looks at him in disbelief, unable to believe what is happening. End.